Hello guys, welcome to part 4 of how to create a snake game in C#. Today we are going to be finishing up our game by writing the game mechanics. So if we go to the code for our form main, the only namespace we are going to need is the system.drawing namespace. And let's set up our variables. Now we're going to have an integer which will handle the direction that the snake is moving, and it will start by default moving right. We are going to have an integer that will handle the score, and it's going to be by default 1 because the head is generated by default. We are going to have a timer, which is our game loop, and it's going to be, we can create a new instance of it right here, as well as our random class. We can create a new instance of right here. We will also have a graphics variable, and we will have a snake variable and a food variable. Now, the functions we'll need pertaining to this form is the key down event and the paint event. And then we are going to add two functions of our own. One is going to handle the tick event for the timer. That'll be called update, and then the other is going to handle every time the user loses. And we'll just call it restart, taking no parameters. So starting from the constructor, the first thing we're going to do is create a new instance of our snake, a new instance of our food. We are going to set our game loop interval to 75, so that means every 75 milliseconds the snake is going to move one block in a certain direction. And 75 milliseconds seems like a small amount of time, but I think this speed is like a normal difficulty setting. I think anything above 100 is too easy, and everything below 50 is too hard. 75 is a pretty good speed. It's not too challenging, but it's a decent speed. And then we are going to set the tick event, and we're going to make it the update function. For the key down event, there are 6 different keys that can be pressed, and we're going to use the key data, so this will return the key that is pressed. So the enter key, which will start the game, space key, which is going to pause the game, the right key, which will move the snake right, the down key, which will move it down, the left key, which will move it left, and the up key, which will move it up. So for the enter key, the first thing we want to know, the enter key is going to begin the game, and it's only going to begin the game when the game is not running. Now, we can check if the game's not running by either checking if the game loop timer is enabled, or we can check if this label is visible, because if the game is running, this label is not going to be visible. So that's what I'm going to do. So if the label is visible, so the game is not running, then let's make the label invisible by setting it to false, and then let's start the game loop. And that is the enter key. Now for the space key, we want to check if the game is running, and if it is running, the label will not be visible, and if it's not visible, we're going to set our game loop.enabled equal to, now we're going to use the ternary operator here, which is super cool. So hip. So if you don't know what this statement means, I feel like a lot of beginning programmers don't know what it means. It is equivalent to this statement right here. So these two statements, this statement and this group of statements, are equivalent. You should look up the ternary operator on Google and read up on it, because it's a really cool, really simple thing. You can do more with it. It just makes your code look a little bit cleaner. So this will essentially stop the game loop if it's running and start it if it's not. Now for the directional keys, in this game we're going to have it so if the snake is moving right, then you cannot go left. if you're moving up, you can't go down. If you're moving down, you can't go up, and if you're moving left, you can't go right, because you can't go back. You can't go backwards. So we're going to check if the direction is equal to 3, or no, if it's not equal to 3, then we can set it to 0. So if it's not moving left, then we can make it go right. If the direction is not going up, if it's, oh, sorry, this should be 2 for left. If the direction is not going up, then we can set the direction to go down. If the direction is not going to the right, then we can set it to go left. And if the direction is not going, if it's not going down, which is 1, then we can set the direction to up, which is 3. And that will handle all of our key presses. Now for the paint function, we're going to set our graphics variable to this.createGraphics. We're going to draw our snake, and we're going to draw our food. Oops. So this shouldn't be there, and this should be like that. Okay. Our update function, so this is going to run, this function is going to fire every 75 milliseconds. So it's going to do a couple of things. It's going to update the score. So we're going to say string.format snake score, and then our argument bam. So it's going to insert the score.toString into this slot right here. We are going to move the snake every single tick. And now we're going to check 4 different things. Number 1, is the snake intersecting with itself? Is the snake going out of bounds in the x direction? Is it going out of bounds in the y direction? And is the snake intersecting with the food? So to check if it's intersecting with itself, we're going to first use a for loop. And we're pretty much going to go through every single rectangle in the snake.body rectangle array, and we're going to check if snake.body, so if the head, which is the 0th rectangle, dot intersects with a neat little function, snake.body I, and we're going to restart, because you lose if you intersect with yourself. We're going to check if it's out of bounds in the x direction, so if the head.x is less than 0, or if the head is greater than 290, we're going to restart, and then we're going to check similar in the y direction, less than 0, or snake.body is greater than 190. Then we're going to restart. And then finally, we're going to check if it intersects with the food. If it does, we're going to add 1 to the score. We are going to make the snake grow. And then we are also going to generate new x and y coordinates for our piece of food. Now finally, for our restart function, so every time the user loses, we are going to do a couple things. First, we're going to stop the game loop. We're going to clear the form, so everything that's been drawn, and we're going to set the color to the control color, because that is the back color of our form. We're going to create a new instance of our snake, a new instance of our food for the next game. We're going to set the direction to 0, score to 1, and then we're going to make the menu visible. And the one last thing we need is for this update function, we are going to put this dot invalidate. So this will make this will allow us to visualize the snake moving. So if you didn't put, this is a very important line of code, even as simple as it is. If you didn't put this, nothing would work. If you do put this, everything will work. So this is it, guys. Our game is finished. So let's play some Snake. Let's see how it looks. Okay, looks good. Snake scores 1, created. Okay, we got good directions. Press enter to begin. Doesn't resize, that's good. So let's press enter and look. And we've got ourselves a snake. Oops. Seems like we have a little bug. And I think I know what it is. I believe this should be greater than, and if we do it now, bingo. So that was our problem, which is okay. Now there is one bug with this game, and I'll tell you right now. So if we are going right and you press the left key, it's not going to turn left. But if, now I'm not sure if you'll understand, oh, and here we can press the space bar to pause and continue. If you can press the down key and then the left key when you're going right, faster than the interval will change, then it will actually go left and it will intersect with its own body. So you'll see when you're playing the problem, and honestly, I will give a reward to whoever can fix it, because it's something that has stumped me for quite some time now. I've tried a couple of different things. I have one more idea that I'm going to try, so of course if you use that idea, which I'm not going to tell you what it is, because it's always good to figure these things out on yourself. If someone comes up with that idea, then they will not win. But if they come up with a genuine, a novel idea that truly does work the way the way that it should, then they will get a prize. So this is our Snake game. There are some improvements that can be made, definitely. You can add a high score feature, you can add a difficulty feature, you can add settings to style the colors. You can, instead of using rectangles, you can use ellipses, although it does flicker sometimes. The food can generate on the snake's body. You can try and fix that. But for the most part, this is a solid working Snake game. It really is pretty solid for something that didn't take us too long to create. So thank you guys for joining me on how to create a Snake game in C#. I hope you learned something and took away something valuable from these tutorials. If you want to learn how to make a certain program that's not too difficult but not too easy either, post in the comments, send me a PM, do whatever, and I'll see what I can do about making a tutorial for it. Thanks guys, I'll see you next time.